Welcome to the Force Always. My name is Diz, aka David Zammit. That's right. Let's get on with the show, with the news, the views, the reviews, and interviews. Making news this time around. There is so much AI online, but there is another I would call 11 out of 10. Sort of a review in the news sort of point, but it's all about exposing how great this piece of fan film is. It is called Jango Fett and the Brutal Training of the First Clones. It is amazing. It's probably pretty intensely violent in maybe a Star Wars level of thing, but it's another over perfect film. It's just really, really good. And I'll tell you how good this thing is. Jango Fett is of technically New Zealand origin. Not in Star Wars, but in real life. And the accent of Jango Fett, Tamara Morrison, who I've actually met, is spot on. It's great. The sound of his voice is spot on. Like, there is nothing in this particular fan film that is incorrect. Now, this film proves that AI can cause heartstrings to be plucked because it is an emotional type of feeling particular fan film. Really, really good. But just check that one out. It's trying to stick to as it is a piece of news. I will probably speak about that a bit more later on in the views that I've got. But that's the news. Check it out. It's been out for about, I think, a couple of days. Star Wars, the Jango Fett and the Brutal Training of the First Clones. Remarkable. Unbelievable. 11 out of 10 for that one. To more news, some interesting news actually. Fan Expo has been, I think, or is still going on in New Orleans. That's in America, where Hayden Christensen was a part of. It's not just Star Wars. It's a number of fan type stuff there. It's a big exhibition, but not massive. Not like a Comic-Con, not like a Star Wars celebration, but it's still pretty big. And a great sort of hall area. That's on at the moment. And Hayden Christensen, who played Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader, is still there. I'm unsure. But anyway, that's what's going on. To more news. No news is good news. That's right. Unfortunately, I've got no news about Mandalorian Grogu trailer. I've got no news, which is actually good news, about Starfighter. It's sort of quietly, moving along, apparently. So that's good. But also, so that's the part of news. Next part of news is sort of not Star Wars related and sort of is. It's a part of the same brand, Disney. Now, Disney's got a big film coming out this year, at the end of this year, Avengers Doomsday. There's been a lot of character type teaser trailers out there that have apparently been leaked. They're sort of causing a little bit of interest, sort of working up to a big trailer. I don't think I'm going to review these little trailers from a Star Wars perspective. I'm really waiting for the big one, the big trailer, which I think, here we go, here's a prediction. I think we're going to get the big trailer for Doomsday, that's Avengers, at the Super Bowl. It's going to cause, I think, even the football players to stand still and just watch this trailer. It could be that big. Anyway, that's not really Star Wars related, but under the same banner, being Disney. And anyway, so that's the news for this time around. Let's get into views. Views, my story idea about Star Wars. I accept the story for what it is, from start to finish. It is what it is. We all wish we can change certain things. But you know what? I accept it for what it is. That's love. Love is accepting that person, that thing for what they are. And I do. Anyway, so I just let you know about, well, you probably know already, this particular fan film, which I should add, it's on a YouTube channel called Star Wars Tales Untold. Check that one out. So far, they've got 2 great AI fan films on there. The other one I did review in this last week, which was a Snowtroopers POV at the Battle of Hoth. But this one was Jango Fett and the brutal training of the first clones. So my point of view on this, my story idea with this particular thing is actually something that is saying to you, I wouldn't add anything else. My story idea, which is not really my story idea, it's this person's or these people's story idea, how they portrayed every aspect of this film was beautiful. The music, the angles, the inclusions of characters, like the levels of clone age. And even if you look really, really close, Jango Fett is, well, I think it's Jango Fett, he's sort of sporting, I think it's Captain Rex, his uniform, or it could be Captain Rex. We don't know. But I just think my story idea is not needed. I don't think anyone's story idea is not needed. This is perfection. Like, it is beautiful. Like, you feel the film, you see the film, you hear the film, the music, the actual story is the highlight. It's not because it's AI. These AI films, what they're doing is causing a real intrigue with the psyche, the psychological aspect of Star Wars, which I think is the greatest part of Star Wars. I think this is how you really want Star Wars to be, is psychological. Learning from it, interesting aspects and stuff like that. But anyway, that is my story idea. That is not my story idea. Just to let you know that this is sheer perfection. Again, Jango Fett and the brutal training of the first clones. Check it out. Amazing. I think you need to be a little bit of a hardcore Star Wars fan to know where this is in the actual story, but I think you also can appreciate just the little story as it is. Anyway, that's my views for this time around. Let's get into reviews. Reviews this time around is of a figure that I have, and it's sort of actually, it's a clone. Like, at this stage, it was a clone. Now, this is a real special packaging. This was, so this is a packaging here of, this is actually the, when on Mustafar, these troopers sort of came along to guard the Emperor coming down and seeing Darth Vader in pieces on Mustafar. This is a special packaging. Now, it's actually called Episode 3 Greatest Battles Collection. And this is not an official release from Episode 3, even though it's an official release. It's just a separate collection. But this is beautiful. Even the background, if you can see the lava and stuff like that. This was, and the actual trooper is called a shock trooper. Look at that. This is beautiful. This is one trooper I love. I love the color red. I love the color black. Not because it's just my football team, but I love it. This here is a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Beautiful. Look at that. Episode 3, Greatest Battles Collection. Just a bit longer for you to observe. Anyway, let's get into interviews. And you know what? In interviews, we have our favourite guy. You could be anyone out there. It doesn't have to be Michael from Werribee South. Our favourite guy, Michael from Werribee South, which is a part of Melbourne, Australia, just in case you don't know. Let's get right into the questions here. he seems to like really getting involved in these questions. So why did Boba work for Jabba? Well, Boba is a bounty hunter. He worked for anyone that was going to pay him a good amount of money. Jabba would pay him, sort of. I think he swindled. I think Jabba is the type of person or type of alien that would swindle people, but Boba was a hardcore bounty hunter. Why did Boba work for Jabba? He wanted to get paid. That's it. Next question, this is an interesting question. What is the controversy of Rose Byrne, who is the actress who won a Golden Globe in the last couple of days, who is Australian, who has been in Attack of the Clones, playing a double who briefly speaks about Padme when her own disguise is revealed, leading to fan questions about her character's loyalty and the confusion surrounding her lines after the assassination attempt, highlighting her memorable though small debut in a galaxy far, far away. It's quite a long question for Michael, but put it this way, put it basically, the answer to that question, I had to sort of confirm this via Google, but the reason it's not a real world controversy, when Michael asked me this question, I was curious, like, I never recalled any controversy with the fans about this. But it's not a real world controversy. It was just a story controversy. It's like, how could this person have an assassination attempt on her leader and not be so moved or whatever it is. But it was only controversial in the story of just the story. Just how could that person do that? It's like saying, how can Darth Vader be a killer? Well, it's just a part of the character. And with Rose Byrne's character, that was part of her character. She just sort of was a handmaiden. She was in the background. She couldn't be really, so forth. She had to be just always on her side, whether life or death. And that's it. So it's not a real world controversy. It was just in the story. How could someone be like that? Well, how? You've just got to be that character in the story. Anyway, the next question from Michael from Roby's house. Did Vader know Leia was his daughter when he tortured her? Well, no. That is a straight no. Now, Darth Vader knows how to be in touch with the Force, but he did not know. He had no idea. The point that he knew, I'll tell you the point, was in Return of the Jedi, when Luke was trying to hold back what he just got to know, which was Leia being his sister, and then famously, which I've used this in a comedy way with many people, Vader said to Luke, he said, if you won't turn to the dark side, maybe she will, and it caused Luke to get really emotional. Thank goodness he was controlling his anger or frustration or whatever it was after a couple of moments. But no, the answer to the question, did Vader know Leia was his daughter when he tortured her? No. The next question from Michael from Werribee South. Now, going back to Rose Byrne, who was the Golden Globe winner at the 2026 Golden Globes, not for Star Wars, but for another film that she was in, a comedy apparently. But she has played a handmaiden in Attack of the Clones for Padme, that's a character. Who did Rose Byrne play in Star Wars Attack of the Clones? Well, I didn't know. I had to Google this. I had to Google this. Her name was Dorm. That's her name. Very small role for a very big actress here in Australia, regarded to be very, very good. Anyway, so the next question from Michael from Werribee South is, why did Jabba lick Leia? Now, we could really get into trouble answering this question, I tell you that. Now, why he actually licked Leia is we actually don't know. But I would say because Jabba was perceived as a disgusting slug, besides being a gangster, being a Hutt, that's a gangster, that's a Hutt, whatever it is, I think he's just being disgusting. That's all it was. Just disgusting. Not perverted. Not, well, I don't know. But I'm just saying, I would just say being disgusting. Maybe he wanted to eat her. That sounds disgusting in itself, but maybe he did. We don't know, but it was essentially some sort of disgusting. That's why Jabba licked Leia. That's my guess. The next question. This is actually a really good question because there's actually... Now, the question is, before I go out of control, was Leia braless in Star Wars? And yes, she was. Because George Lucas told everyone and anyone, including Leia, that underwear did not exist in space. But that's sort of funny that was sort of said then, back in the 70s and the 80s, because I'm sure Padme Amidala, the Queen Amidala, I'm sure there was, some support there. But anyway, was George Lucas's idea that there was no such thing as underwear in space. In fact, Carrie Fisher once made a bit of a speech on stage, I think at some sort of ceremony, in absolute intense humour and sort of with a frustration type humour towards George Lucas, saying, "Why do I have to be braless in space?" It was. You can find it on YouTube somewhere. It was quite a funny piece by Carrie Fisher, who played Princess Leia. Yeah, but so the answer was Leia braless in Star Wars? Yes, because underwear did not exist in space. Anyway, which, questions the hygiene of every single person in space in Star Wars. But anyway, now the next question, why was the Empire racist in Star Wars? Now this here is a question that cannot be really answered because there's no official proper answer to this. Star Wars is not about racism. Star Wars is really sort of a bit about classism, about class levels of types of people in the galaxy. There could have been a bit of racism there, but it's never actually revealed as it. And there was never a little storyline or a big storyline that had black versus white, white versus black, yellow, whatever you want to be. There was no actual racism that was sort of defined in Star Wars. So why was the Empire racist in Star Wars? Well, it cannot be answered because there's no official racism that we know of that was actually presented as a story idea by George Lucas or any of these story writers in Star Wars. That's it. It's not my opinion, it's how the story is. Because I accept the story for what it is. Anyway, now the last question from Michael from Werribee South. My goodness, he really likes throwing the controversial questions today because who is the queer actress in Star Wars? Now, I don't even know what I can actually say of, a person who is queer or homosexual or lesbian. I don't know what the proper way of, titling that person. I just take the person for who they are. I just say, well, that's Mark Hamill. Well, that's Carrie Fisher. Well, that's Harrison Ford. Well, that's, Samuel L. Jackson. Who, their sexuality is not an issue with me. But funny enough, I had to Google this one. Who is that actress who is meant to be queer in Star Wars? But it's not a representation in Star Wars as a storyline for Star Wars. In real life, apparently she is. The actress is... what's her name again? Let's go into... Here it is. No, that's not it. That was the other Google thing. It was Kelly Marie Tran who played Rose. And she was introduced to us in The Last Jedi. If there's anything controversial that Star Wars fans will get out of her, is that she was debuted in that particular film because part of the Star Wars fans really despised that particular episode. In fact, that's where a lot of the controversy began. But anyway, Kelly Marie Tran, who played the character Rose, was introduced to us in episode 8, The Last Jedi. Funny enough, she took a liking towards Finn in that particular episode. But automatically, somehow, it really changed in the next episode, episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, where things just evolved to whatever happened to that relationship that was building in episode 8. That's probably, a little area that, was not really thought out very properly in the transition from episode 8 to episode 9. But it was explained, I think, during episode 9. I can't remember the exact reason. But I actually thought Rose and the actress Kelly Marie Tran, I thought she was good. I actually thought she just gave a realness. I thought her style of personality was deep. And I thought she was, she gets a lot of flack. But I just think she was good. Like, there's so many good actors and actresses in Star Wars that get a lot of flack for no reason. For no reason. Because the fan base is, if they don't like something for some reason, a period of time, that person will absolutely go through the depths of hell. And at the moment, unfortunately, Kelly Marie Tran is probably still going through that, but more knowingly, we've got Daisy Ridley at the moment going through some hell for no real reason. She'd be still getting hell. I think she was great. And I think, her character was great. It was, even how, what happened to her in the very end of episode 9 with Luke and Leia being there. I thought that, to me, was a very important moment, because there's a lot of us out there who are lost in life and want to find themselves to be a part of something, like a family or friends. And I thought that they really made it beautiful. But Star Wars fans, part of them, did not like that part of the movie particularly. I thought it really said something about life in accepting people for who they are and bringing them into their family unit so they can be a part of a family. Because unfortunately, Daisy Ridley, who is Rey Skywalker, was a part of a very bad family before that. But let's get back in Kelly Marie Tran. The answer to the question for Michael was Kelly Marie Tran, who played Rose. She appeared in episode 8 and episode 9. Anyway, that is the show. Please subscribe to this channel, The Force Always. As I say, I'm here usually 3 or 4 times a week with the news, the views, reviews, and interviews of all sorts. Please send in your comments to the last particular video, which this one will be the last particular video. For the next particular video, I don't have Instagram at the moment, or X or Twitter. I'm just relying upon this particular, YouTube channel with the messages. Send in a comment, ask a question. I'm not Mr. Trivia like I know everything. I know a bit, but I don't know everything. But just send me whatever you like, deemed it is appropriate for the channel. And like and share this particular episode if you can, if you want. It's up to you. If not, I am the Force always. Like a lot of us out there, we are the Force always. And until next time, my friends, keep rocking.